channel. Welcome to yet another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Omasho. This is the last edition for the year 2021, the last Tuesday. How time really flies. Well, today we're picking on three major things that shaped the year 2021. You can't talk about the year 2021 without talking about COVID-19 pandemic, yes, and it's still very much on. After that, we'll go into what is really going on between Russia, China, and of course the US. We'll talk about that. Also, don't forget to mention North Korea missile drive, their nuclear drive. These are the three major points we want to take a look at. The other event, but these three major events, you just can't shake them off easily. With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner, a human rights activist. Join me to welcome Barrister A.B. Thomas. Barrister, welcome to International Forum.
Compliments to you and those at home.
As very close to Barrister A.B. Thomas, I have another legal practitioner, Barrister Henry, who was a human rights activist, political affairs commentator. Barrister Henry, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Good afternoon. Wishing you are welcome.
All right. Well, they say if you're amongst the prophets, you start prophesying. So, though he's not a learned gentleman, he's learned though. He's a teacher of doctors and, of course, a teacher also of the Word of God. Join me to welcome Honorable Frank Amego. Welcome to International Forum.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this is the last edition for the year 2021, and we can't talk about this year without talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. From COVID-19, we have the Delta variant, and of course, we now have the Omicron, and the story just keep on going and going and going. So, how do you think that the pandemic really shaped the year 2021, Barrister A.B. Thomas?
Well, as the name implies, COVID-19, it started towards the end of 2019. This pandemic that defied all solutions, medical knowledge, and it made no sense of all permutations, economic, political, religious, commerce, throughout the year 2020. But while people thought that by now it would be over, but we've discovered that in 2021, it further degenerated into having a new version of COVID-19 that became the Delta strand of the pandemic. And while the world was still grappling with that, diverting resources from other developments into medical health care, then the Omicron variant reared its head in South Africa, where they discovered that this the deadliest of all COVID pandemic reared its head. So all over the world, what we've discovered is that every country had to start changing their budgets, so that from education, from social services to health, majority of the countries had to divert all their resources to health. Because if you are making budgets to construct roads and there are no human beings to pass the roads, you are making budget for schools, budget for other things like commerce, you need the human beings. And these human beings are very important. They are the source of governance, the source of legitimacy for any government in any country. So, COVID-19 with Delta strand and the Omicron actually took the vibe out of the plans of everybody, not just government, individuals, companies. Everybody has been battling this, and it changed the plans for 2021. And we are going into 2022. So we find ourselves still battling with it in 2021, with a few days to go into a new year.
All right. All right, Barrister Henry was, or he has spoken at talking about the various strands of COVID-19, talking about the economic importance that more attention was given to health. But if you take a look at Africa as a continent, it's like the story is different from what is happening or what happened in North America, South America, Asia, Europe, even in Australia. Why the difference?
In terms of
you know, the impact it had on them health-wise and, of course, economic-wise.
Well, you look at it from the angle, one, you look at the environment which the different parts of the countries they live in. And then you also look at the people themselves, as it were. You'll find out that in most African countries, you take Nigeria for example, we don't have high rates of this COVID-19 as it were, though somehow government tends to make understand that we have it in high number, day in, day out, you see them publishing number of persons. But the Omicron, as it were, I have not actually heard that maybe any Nigerian for now that maybe died from it, as it were. But you find out again too that in Africa, because of the nature of our economy, we don't plan ahead, knowing fully well what will happen. Though the COVID came at a point in time, nobody was prepared for it. But you also find out that other countries, they try to do one thing or the other to ensure that their people do not suffer much. Though they have a lot of casualties compared to what you have in Africa, as it were. The number of casualties was not much. We might be lucky, maybe some persons might say it was because God was on our side, or some persons might look at it as maybe our DNA is quite different from that which these other persons have, or some persons might equally look at it from the angle that the weather has a role to play in it, because depending on the environment in which we live in a weather in a part of the world where the weather, just if you take Nigeria for example, the weather here is very hot, and you find out that such kind of bacteria or whatever name they give to it cannot survive in a high temperature region just as we have to. That is my own thinking, but the medical personnel might have a different ideas entirely about it. But on our part, Africa, as it were, have had their own fair share, but not as you have in other parts of the world. Though some governments will try to give it, a high publicity, either for one reason or the other. Most probably, WHO has, what you have to benefit from them, because you have it in your country. Maybe they have to, you have some consumables that might be supplied to your country, or the other things might be given to your country in respect of it.
All right. Well, thank God that we have a lecturer, a College of Medicine, right?
Medical Sciences.
Medical Sciences, yes. A teacher of doctors also. I believe that we're following the trend of the COVID-19 variant, talking about COVID-19, Delta variant, Omicron, you just name it. But in this part of the world, it wasn't as severe as it was in India, wasn't as severe also as it was in Brazil, not even in the US. So while the disparity, but still our economy suffered brutally. How can you really relate to that?
Yes, the reason why our economy suffered is because we are so dependent on external resources or external facilities. And again, why it wasn't so much of a challenge here, because we are very religious in Nigeria, by extension Africa. A lot of these things were put to God in prayers, and God really helped Nigeria. Whatever thing that was projected or prophesied, that they will find dead bodies littering on the streets, all those things didn't come to pass because of our religiosity, and again, the government trying to force it.
Hold on now. Are you tying it to divinity?
Yeah, there's a relationship because it involves life. God will not allow a life to slip off his hands. So if something happens to you, no matter how physical or spiritual it is, you come back to God, God has a way of intervening. But aside from that, the way the federal government, through the PTF, gave us figures that initially appeared like Baba Ijebu figures. They were just scared of the figures. So, and the enforcement of those rules, distance, washing of hands, use of hand sanitizers, face masks and all that, helped to a great extent. And not necessarily so that the weather stopped it. It has nothing to do with weather.
With weather, okay.
Yes.
Because that is among the speculation, or let's say hypothesis of weather contributed to...
It's not scientific.
Okay.
So the challenge I see here is the federal government before now paid lip services to the health sector. And the outbreak of the COVID-19 exposed all what the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was trying to cover up.
Not only Nigeria, because even the US, they had that challenge
Yes,
also. In India, they had it because we're like, we don't have enough bed, no enough hospitals, so we had to like convert ship into hospitals.
That thing took place in Nigeria like that, who would have been alive? We're not, up to now, there are no proper facilities. In the health sector, in the education sector, there's nothing working in Nigeria without apology. I said we want us to just paint a picture of all that, all is well with Nigeria. So it exposed all of us. The only area where badly hit was the economy, because we're so dependent on the other nations. So I want to see COVID-19 impacting on year 2021 as an east wind that does no one any good. But it's not left for the present-day government to put measures in place. Like Omicron now, thank God. I say thank God because it's not as virulent as the Delta and other variants. Okay. So Omicron, you can... The truth about COVID-19, a lot of persons would have had it. Even you would have had it. Yes. Maybe I would have had it. Anyway. No, because of the way we live our lives. You know, it has a lot of presentations like malaria fever. Some persons would have been taking all manners of anti-malaria drugs, and up to now, people now know in the public domain that zinc sulfate can help boost your immunity. You know, people buy zinc sulfate, very cheap, 10 tablets for 200 naira. I'm not prescribing, but it can boost your immunity.
All right.
So a lot of people take vitamin C to also have an antioxidant. So in all of that,
we're not to prescribe.
One way or the other, we have been helping ourselves out in fighting this COVID-19 unknowingly.
Okay, well, I wouldn't want us to really dwell on that because we have three major topics to really talk about, because COVID-19 actually shipped the year 2021. Well, I think that COVID-19 would just die with the year 2020, but all of a sudden it just leapfrogged into 2021 and it was like something else, and it's still very much on. So please, you have to follow rules and regulations governing the fight against COVID-19 because it is still very much around. Having said that, another story that really shook the world, I may just dwell a little bit on this, but I want to talk about in COVID-19, is the squabble between the superpowers on Earth. US, China, and of course, Russia. Yeah. US-China-Russia relationship, that was another event that really shook the earth. So, Barrister Ibi Thomas, I mean, it's like these nations are at each other's throat. What can you make out of it?
It's not really these superpowers at each other's throats. Beside the attempt by the Americans to be the police nation of the universe, then there is the economic aspect. Because suddenly it was discovered that instead of America becoming not only the military superpower in the world, but they were also becoming the economic hub of the world. And suddenly China became not only the superpower in terms of economics, but the greatest donor to other poor countries, third world countries in all the continents of the world, lending out money to countries in the world. Unfortunately, most of these countries never read the terms of the loan. It's like when you go for vehicle license, they give you the paper for vehicle license. 99% of Nigerians don't bother to read the particulars.
Yeah.
So China became not only an economic world power, but also became a military world power, to the extent that it wanted to take Taiwan, which it considers as its own colony. Just like Iraq was seeing Kuwait as its 19th colony. China wanted to take Taiwan by force. And China also went ahead to shape Hong Kong. The agreement China reached with the British government before the British government ceded Hong Kong, which is part of Chinese territory. China defeated from it and stopped democracy in Hong Kong. China went as far as trying to encourage North Korea into producing intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach the center of America. Because China was looking at it, that if China is to take on America militarily alone, China cannot. So China had to create a triumvirate or a tripartite group comprising China, North Korea, and Russia. And these three became a big threat to America. And America had to now, without Trump, that pulled out of NATO, America had to quickly return back to NATO so as to get the support of the European countries. Now, the whole world's attention was now diverted. While America was suffering economically in their own country. They were going backwards in terms of science and technology. Russia was going forward in terms of commerce, science, and technology. Then, North Korea was creating their own threat of launching missiles almost every week to the annoyance of America. Then while this was going on, Russia reared its own ugly head, which they reared it while Trump was president of America. Right. But Trump could not really deal with Russia because of his own personal interest in commerce with Russia. Okay. And Russia's involvement in all this is long-standing, right from when Gorbachev was the president of Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Okay.
And when that broke down in 1991, Russia became the most powerful among the 19 countries that break away from USSR.
All right.
And with that, Russia could not and would not allow countries around it to become part of NATO. Such as Ukraine, such as Poland, to the extent that Russia had to invade and annex Crimea.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that, Barrister A.B. Thomas. Well, Barrister Herring was, or you heard him, it's talking about the relationship between the U.S., China, and Russia. I talked about the brief history of Russia and, of course, the emerging strength of China with the disturbance of North Korea. And the U.S. not really happy about all this. What's your point of view?
But if you look at North Korea, as it were, North Korea has a standing army of 1.3 million of them, personnel that on that. And also, they stand to be, I think the fourth largest nation that has a kind of a standing army of that nature. But you also find out the type of leadership, because the leadership is the issue. If you have a leader that is focused, you have a leader that is vibrant, that has an idea or knows where he's going to, because that's what you find in North Korea. They have been there, but they now have a leader that has, want to be at the same power with the China, the same power with US and all whatnot. The man has over 60 weapons that, he can wake up one morning and decide to throw any missile in any part of the world. But you also find out that this relationship that is existing between the US, the China, and Russia, as it were, all gone on in a way, trying to ensure that the world itself is in a stable condition. Because if all these other threats, as it were, comes up, definitely there are going to be challenges in every part of the world. But you also find out that these relationships, not only it has its own political undertone, but also have its economic aspect of it too. Because all these countries coming up together, trying to curtail the activities of one another, ensuring that the world is in a stable condition, as it were. But North Korea, because of the type of leadership, just as I rightly said, tends to be creating tension in that part of the world. And fear, too, on other, countries within the environment, believing that one day, maybe the young man might decide to do the unthinkable. But I know of a truth that it has long been there on ground, these ideas. So the relationship between these parts of the world will continue to grow for the betterment of the world, as it were.
All right. Now, people are talking about delicate balance in the world. U.S. seems to be at the center of this, but with the emergence of China, Russia, and of course the disturbance of North Korea, people are saying that the delicate balance of the world will soon be upset. And once that happens, it may just lead to chaos. Honorable Frank, what do you feel about this?
I beg to differ from that.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge America is faced with. And the good news is America is not alone in the game.
They're not alone in the game?
They're not alone, yes, because Germany is on their side, France, Canada, Britain. So just that over the years, America has tried to play a big brother role. And not to forget that when you talk about USA, you are directly or indirectly talking about UN, United Nations. So what US is doing right now is to create peace and harmony on this globe. What North Korea is doing is a misplaced priority. If you look at their economy, it's nosediving. I don't even know between theirs and ours, which one is even faring better. So if you are going to be over-pampered, misdirected by China and Russia, you have the responsibility to look inwards. That to what advantage is this perceived fight against US will have on our own nation, North Korea? And not forgetting that they lied at a point that the acquisition of nuclear weapons was to help them in agriculture and some other areas. And no sooner than they said that, than they began to showcase their ulterior motives. So by forming alliance with China and Russia, as I said, is a misplaced priority. And America is to now go back to the drawing board and create new platforms towards mitigating against such invasion into the global space. Why would you just begin to acquire nuclear weapons to kill people? I don't think humanly that's right. And that's what America has tried to put across to them, that there's an agreement as a UN that we shouldn't be able to kill ourselves. Okay, well, is there a tension that you want us to doubt now? There's no challenge. Just that China ordinarily have the right to compete with.
All right, now you just sort of want to go for a break. We'll return and continue with this discussion. We're going to stay more on this topic, US-China-Russia relation, and of course, North Korea nuclear drive. Don't go away. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We're taking a look at the event that shaped the year 2021. And among those events, US-China-Russia relation, North Korea nuclear ambition. There are major events also globally this year that tend to shape the event that really occurred in the year 2021. And of course, we're with Honorable Frank Amega. Yes. You're like saying that US want to ensure peace, want to ensure stability, want to ensure balance, and they're not alone in the game. Take it up from there.
And I was still saying that China has the right. It's a market, it's a global market. China has the right to compete in economy, in agriculture, in all facets of human life and endeavor. So, but the way and manner they are going about it is just to cast aspersion on the perceived superiority of US over other nations. You compete favorably. If you know you can produce an item that US is producing at a competitive price, you go ahead. But not to not do it in such a way to create tension in the UN-controlled nations. One would have expected that Russia, right from time, anything US will ever do will be contradicted by Russia. It was Russia that started this infighting, so to speak. From Russia, they were able to gather to themselves a lot of Chinese persons, and now they have brought in North Korea. Anything that US did was always contradicted by Russia. And that war, that Cold War, whatever war, has been on for decades. So how do you expect China? China has been doing well so far until they now form this kind of alliance with Russia. I don't know what Russia did to them that made China to now join forces with them. Otherwise, with the way China has been going, It would have helped to stabilize the economy of the world. If US came with a particular price for a particular product, China will come up with something similar, and that, in terms of competition, in terms of quality, people will tend to want to go towards that of China. But when they're not doing it, we are doing all of this against US, which personally I don't want to agree with.
Okay.
So they should compete favorably.
All right.
Not to begin to threaten lives and property.
All right. Now, some of the people know that the reason why China, Russia, and of course North Korea are doing what they're doing is to wrestle control away from the US in their region. You have the Asia region, you have the EU, because now the EU has been taken over by Germany, so to speak, and now US have these, allied countries around the base of these great countries. They say they want to be free, so to speak. And is US not biting more than they can chew in this aspect?
I don't think so. You see, if you live in an area where somebody comes up and say, I'm a super thug, the most civilized man has an inherent duty to protect the weaker civilized ones. If I'm to go further to explain, you see, in the Southeast Asia, where China is trying to hold sway, China is a threat to the existence of human beings and democracy in Japan. China is a threat to the existence of Taiwan. China is a threat to the existence of people in South Korea by aiding and abetting the nuclear program of North Korea. China is a threat to Philippines. China is a threat to the Vietnamese. China is a threat to Thailand. All these countries are complaining. It's just that these countries on their own cannot take on China. So in order to be able to have a way of counterbalancing the terror intentions of China, they have to sway somehow towards America. And that is why whenever Asia, when I say Asia, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN,
yeah.
Whenever they're having their meetings, they always invite America, whoever is American president, to come and be an observer. The reason is that America alone can police the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and all the areas around the territories that China is contesting. For instance, China has even gone as far as hoisting their flag in some of the islands being contested with Japan. And this is a matter United Nations have even dealt with in the past by asking China to stay away from those disputed areas.
Yeah.
But China won't accept that because they believe they have the population, they have the strong economy now, they have the technology now to fight all those smaller countries around it.
Okay.
But for the fact that America has so many warships and aircraft carriers, some even armed with nuclear
capabilities, yeah.
capabilities. So these weapons are all disposed towards the Southeast Asia Sea, and this helps those the countries I've mentioned earlier,
yeah,
to feel safer from the threat
of China.
Okay. So if we see it from that way, we will not see America as biting more than they can chew.
All right.
And I must also tell you, if you look at Africa here, there would have been more terrorism in Africa if not for the American High Command, which is stationed in the northern part of Africa.
Yeah.
They are also keeping an eye on Africa. They are keeping an eye on South America. They are keeping an eye, helping Europe. Because on many occasions, Russian nuclear bombers have threatened the British territory. But because America has a world-class nuclear bombers stationed in the northern part of UK, and this can also go into the air to turn back the Russian planes. America is everywhere.
Okay. And you say that they're not biting more than they can chew.
I am not, they are not buying more than.
I'll come back to
because
you.
they have a way
Yes.
of balancing their own economy.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Barrister A.B. But Barrister Henry, he said America is not biting more than they can chew because right now they've sent troops to the border of Ukraine because of what Russia is like trying to, like, do. Russia said they're not there trying to do anything, they're just there, do the military drill. They don't want to attack Ukraine. That is what they are saying right now. And China not told all those Asians, kind of like Philippines, Taiwan, even some parts of Japan, the sea there. So many of them say, look, we are not here to bully you. We are your brothers. Let's come together and work together. We just wanted to enjoy what we're enjoying. I mean, don't you think that China have this notion of a unified Asia to really stand out on their own without depending on America?
That is their, I might look at it from that angle that is their ambition. Trying to ensure that the Asian countries remain one and under their control, as it were. Because before now, everybody turns to rally around the US.
Yeah.
So some of these countries, others too, like the Asian countries, China on its own, because it has been able to build its economy, it has been able to build its military might, and now he wants to challenge the activities of the US. In collaboration with Russia and others who are in support of their activities, as it were. So banking on that, they now feel that they have the capacity, as it were. Coupled with the fact that they end up becoming a borrowing nation too to other countries, trying to assist them one way or the other to do one thing or the other. And at the end of the day, trying to lord it over them. And that is what they are trying to do, to be able to control the activities of these countries, as it were. But US on its own has continued to be their brother's keeper, as it were, ensuring that these countries are not ordinarily overrun overnight by China and with the support of Russia and others. That is why you find US trying to play that brotherly role, ensuring that the activities of the Chinese are to some extent contained. But you also find out that these countries, as it were, they have their own internal challenges, because in every society, while you are trying to put it right, there are certain persons who have other motives, as it were. So you find out that these other countries, as it were, there are some of their leaders, as well, whether directly or indirectly, want to partner with China, in carrying out some of the activities. And at the end of the day, whether it is detrimental to the life of their people, sometimes do not even come to their mind. So, but what is important is that America is not biting more than its due. It has always been the police of the world, trying to control the activities. They are in Africa, they are in every part of the world, trying to play that brotherly role, which they have always known for, and for the interest of the people. And so I don't feel that they are biting more than they chew because of the activities in these parts of the world.
All right. Now, I know that you have so much to react to this, but in addition to your reaction, take a look at the activities of North Korea. It's like they've gotten what they wanted. They've not been able to build interballistic missile. They've been able to test their nuclear capability. I don't think that North Korea is like a force right now globally to reckon with.
Yeah, straight ahead, NK is not going to be as powerful as we are thinking. Because what you are planning, if you look at what America has become over the years, centuries, what China is trying to become, the first thing to look at your territorial integrity.
Hold on, what China is trying to become, or they are already?
They are trying to become, they are not as powerful as America.
Okay.
They are still becoming. So what North Korea is just trying to be a copycat, so to speak. And that concept won't take them very far. As China wants to try to pull all the Asian countries together with an ulterior motive. It's like going to be a use and dump principle. And that is not what America is doing. I'm not only brief for America, but from information at our disposal, America has been playing that big brother role that up till now they have held on to their integrity. But China doesn't have that integrity. Look at the way they lend out money to nations. You lend out money to nations with some clauses that are hidden. And whatever such countries ended up borrowing, they become your slaves or servants. So that's why I'm suspecting the move being made by China. So China, I don't think Japan will align with them. Japan will never. Even some Philippines and the rest, they won't align, except they're going to oppressively drag them to themselves. You know, one thing about Japan, Japan really, in a way, civilized China. But they are not the kind of noisemakers the Chinese people are, unlike the Japanese. If you go to Japan, you see sophistication of weapons and all that. They don't make any noise about it. I have people there. I've not been there personally, but I have people there. I interact with them. When they talk about what they have, China has not started. China started because it was Russia that tried to open up the eyes of China. And the way they're not doing it is just like someone that has been in abject poverty suddenly won a coupon, and he now got some millions of naira. And that says from today, everybody start to do your own. That's what the initial grab China is having. It's not going to be sustainable. But the way they are going, you need the interdependence of other countries around you. But now you want to oppressively drag them to yourselves. And that becomes a major challenge. And America didn't do that. America will be at fault at the point, they will own up, make amends, but China wants to go the way they want to go, irrespective of the way you feel. So I see the way America is handling the whole matter. That's why Germany, that's in charge of Europe now, so to speak, is aligning with US. France, of course, is on the side of US, including Canada and some other nations. So the way China, Russia, North Korea, they are going about it is like an Agbero mentality. Just let's put down, if you like, rebuild, let's scatter everywhere. That is not developmental. Not unless China, North Korea, and Russia will come back and sit down like prodigal sons, that we need to have a rethink of our initial plans, which in any way will not have been to the betterment of the globe as a whole. Because there's nothing they are doing now that any sane country want to applaud them for. You want to have a nuclear power to throw to the middle of US? Is it to plant cucumber, to plant apple, to destroy people? Is that what you are happy you're doing? So there's no sane nation or sane personality that want to applaud them. If you are talking about development, global development, and let's come to the round table and start talking. No, you are amassing weapons to fight people.
Okay.
Who are your enemies in this instance?
All right. Now he liking China, Russia, and of course North Korea in quote right now are Agberos. But these guys, they have the intellect for China to compete with America globally. And America is indebted to China. Don't forget about it, in terms of hundreds of millions of dollars in trade and all that. Don't you think China have the foresight of somewhere along the line balancing the power globally?
Well, if you look at the economic vision of China, it is global. They are progressing. If you look at the economic vision of America, it is capitalist in nature. And if you look at the African countries, we have a welfarist system of economy. When I say welfarist, we are more interested in helping our brothers. You, Wilson, you can't go home without taking care of your grandfather. But the American man is just himself and his mother. But the Chinese are looking in a different way, giving out loans to other countries to develop, but a bit in a criminal way.
In a criminal way, how?
When I say in a criminal way,
how?
If I say in a criminal way,
Yeah.
you give out loan to me to do a project. Those who will execute the project must come from me. Which means the loan the Chinese is giving out to an African country, they bring their own Chinese people to come and execute them. The money, part of that money goes back to China in terms of remuneration for the workers. It goes back to China. Not only that, they have clauses in every loan agreement they give, where they target some of your infrastructure that is very, 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 very important to you, that when you default to pay those loans, they take those things. I give you a practical example. In Zimbabwe, they gave loans out, saying they were trying to bail out Mugabe and his country. And when that country failed to repay, what did China do?
Airport.
They took over the airport. And in a neighboring country, Zambia, the Chinese are now they are not the controllers of the Zambian police force. So where's your security? If Chinese are now the head of your police force. So you give out loans, and Africa has become the target for loans from China because of our corrupt tendencies. They know us to be corrupt, very corrupt. So they help us with loans and turn a blind eye to our corruption. That America will not do. If America is going to give you any loan, they tell you, look, we are going to watch you at every step of your development to ensure that this money is actually being used
for the purpose.
Okay. So you look at when we say Abacha loot being recovered, most of these expenses that we are incurring from this Abacha loot is being monitored by the European countries, led by America. But China is not interested in whether you are good or you're not good. Take our loan, we target your seaports, we target your airport, this railway we are doing now. I was surprised that our own minister for transport said he did not know the conditions under which China gave out the loan for the train, for the railway stations.
But now he has repeated that, okay?
If he has
repeated that.
If he has repeated that, it only means that, let me tell you straight away.
Yeah.
I have been a lawyer for more than 35 years.
I know, but now let's take it for his word.
You cannot take a loan without conditionalities.
True.
So if you do that, and China is very good at that, we cannot compare China with America. Because America is asking you to develop, if possible. If you are asking America for a loan, they can tie it down to your human rights activities in your country. Are you using these our loans? Are you using these our weapons to oppress your own people? That's a human rights angle.
But China will not act.
China is not interested in why you kill your father or you kill your mother.
Okay.
Just take the loan. We will deal with you when you default.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Ebifa, because this is like a global issue that really shaped the year 2021. Now, do you see the situation escalating beyond what it is right now, especially in the South China Sea, especially in Ukraine? Because right now, Russia is still there standing by. Do you see the escalating? Do you see US being able to curtail the situation?
Well, to me, I see a situation whereby the issue will not escalate more than what it is today. It is politics. Every part of the world, they are trying to do the things they used to do in the past. America will still come in to play the big brotherly role they used to play to ensure that the tension there, it does not go more than what it is presently. And you also find out that Russia in itself, in the area in the Ukraine, will not even go further than a level at which they have gone. And, you know, and because knowing fully well the consequences, because it is not starting the fight as it were, no one knows how long it will go, and no one knows where it will tend to. Because when there is a trouble in a particular part of the world, invariably all the countries within that region will be affected, directly or indirectly. You find out when the COVID issue came up, people were moving from their part of the country to other. So when there's war in any part of the world, whether in Europe, in America, or in Africa, as you used to be, you will find that their migration, people will move, you know, from their part of the world to other. Those who are going to supply the arms, as it were, you know, doing their business, just as we are talking about China being a country where the people are only concerned about them doing their business purely as it were, not putting into consideration the human face, you know, to it. quite unlike what you find in America, trying to ensure that things are done right as it's supposed to be. So what I'm trying to say in essence conclusively is that when there's a tension in any particular part, that those within that region will ensure that it does not escalate more than as it is, to avoid a situation whereby those within that region suffers part of it.
Okay, Honorable, you're going to have the last line of this discussion because a very strong signal that I should call it a wrap. I know we have so much to say. Maybe next year we'll continue with this same discussion. How do you think that U.S. will really balance up the situation in that region?
In Russia,
yes,
Ukraine?
Russia, China, North Korea.
All of them. I'm sure by now, the America I used to know, is a smart country. And for them to speak out, for us to hear that they want to do something, they are done with it. If you liken that to our police force, a Nigerian police officer will arrest you and cause you a suspect. He hasn't investigated anything about you. We'll just handcuff you, drag you, come and bail you, call so many things. But American police will arrest you when they are done with investigation. So if we liken that and expand that at the global scene, discover that America would have been through settling this whole matter. So I give kudos to them for a job well done.
Bryce, a bit almost 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Well, I can tell you, we should not look at the military angle of North Korea, Russia. Russia is playing roulette. Where Russia is having internal problems within their country, they divert attention to Ukraine or Crimea. But military issues should be gone.
All right.
We should look at the medical issues of this Unicron and COVID.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. You've heard them. These are just some of the events that shaped the year 2021. Is it going to escalate? Would it be a solution come 2022? What do you think the world should be expecting next year? That will be our point of discussion, the first edition of International Forum, God willing, next year, 2022. Gentlemen, once more, appreciate your coming, and I wish all of you a prosperous new year ahead. Bye for now, and of course, bye to the year 2021 on International Forum.